One of the most common questions that I get, whether you're selling on Teepublic, could be Redbubble, might even be Etsy. The question is, where do people come up with these ideas? And if you're not feeling very creative, or if you struggle to come up with creative ideas, it can be really intimidating. And even to ask the question, it can be, you can be opening yourself up to judgment and a lot of shame. I get this question a lot, but I very rarely get it in the YouTube comments. Instead, I get people emailing me saying, hey, I'm just not very creative. And they're afraid to ask publicly because people are going to look down their nose at them and say, well, you're not a real artist. So in this video, I want to say you are a real artist. Creativity is something that some people struggle with. And in this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips on how you can be more creative. So let's jump in and get creative. Okay, so the first tip I've got is to change the wording if you find something that's primarily a text-based design. So here I'm in Etsy and I've just typed in funny office signs. And as I scroll on down, I'm going to get a whole bunch of different items here. And I really like this one. This one says, I do not have ducks. I do not have a row. I have squirrels and they're at a rave. And this one is a pretty popular design. If you search for ducks and squirrels, you'll find this on Etsy. So I think that this is a great design in that it's simple, it's funny, and you could actually modify it using simple replacement of text. So the ducks in the row is the setup, and then the punchline is the squirrels and they're at a rave. Well, you could change this last part to be something else, and you could make it slightly different. I don't think it's copying necessarily, because you're taking the idea of a joke that some people have ducks in a row and other people have some sort of thing. Raccoons eating out of the trash. They could be squirrels at a nightclub. It could be rats eating a pizza. There could be all sorts of different things. And so the idea is you're taking the text and then you're asking yourself, can I modify it in such a way that it's a similar joke, but it becomes a unique piece of art, especially if you add in graphics and if you make it look a little bit different. And that really leads me into my second tip, which is if you see something that's a relatively simple design, you may want to replace or add the graphic in the design. So here's a design on Etsy. It says, I'm a little ray of pitch black, and it's just got a nice little floral at the bottom. Well, you could certainly play that up, and you could have a similar looking design, but you could have something different down at the bottom. Now, of course, if you're dealing with text designs, you want to double check that this is not trademarked. So you'd have to go through Justia, for example. You'd have to take a look if there's trademark designs. But if it's just a saying, you can definitely go in and you can add a graphic to it to make it look somewhat different. The third tip that I've got is if you're using something that is graphics oriented, so forget about the text for a minute. I'm looking here at this graphics design. The tip is to change the visuals in it. So here's an example. This says plant so that your own heart will grow. If you like this sort of visual, you could make something similar. If you're if you draw things by hand-drawn artist, you could draw flowers, you could draw a heart, and you could certainly make something similar. This isn't a Michelangelo statue of David that's going to take you years to carve out of marble. I mean, you could pretty much get public domain artwork, or you could just draw this thing yourself. This isn't like ridiculously complicated, right? But if you're an artist and you use watercolors, this would be pretty straightforward sort of thing to draw. Here's another design that looks pretty popular. It's a coffee mug with a cat on it, and it's got cat swearing, I guess. Anyway, it says 4 left and 17 people have it in their basket. And so to me, this is indicative that it's pretty popular. So the idea would be you'd have the same text, but you could simply just swap out a different graphic in there and you could make it your own. You could also make the visuals look different with the text, and you could also make it look like white text on black, black text on white. You could have neon text. You could make the actual mechanics of the design differently as well. So you could keep a cat and you could keep the saying, but you could basically change out everything else. Now, I understand as I'm saying this, a lot of people think, well, you're just ripping off other artists. But the idea is, if you want to actually make a sale, you do need to look at what's selling and then offer something similar. Unless you're a complete original professional artist that's got his own brand or her own brand, you're going to need to probably do something like this. Now, you could come up with another funny saying, and you could have a cat with a different funny saying on it. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And that's my point. It's sort of a bonus tip is, as you modify these designs, and make them your own, you're going to realize there's other ways you could go and make the design even more your own. You could change the saying, for example, and that's where you can get variance in your design, your graphic, with a few differences inside of the actual saying. The sayings themselves, sometimes it's something as simple as an underline, an exclamation mark, different colored font, different types of font, that kind of thing. So I hope you found this helpful. Quick walkthrough. If you're struggling with creativity, do not hang your head in shame. A lot of the nuts and bolts of the success of print on demand is going on to Etsy, for example, seeing what sells and seeing what's in people's baskets, and then coming up with a slightly better or a slightly different design. It is taking the idea and making it your own. So I hope you found that helpful, guys. As always, I do welcome your questions and your comments down below. And here's another video on how you can supercharge your print on demand journey. Thanks a lot for watching.